Okay, let's take a look at another example here where we're trying to graph y equals 3 sine x over 2 minus pi over 6 plus 4. And the first thing we need to do is we need to factor out this part here. So we have y is equal to 3 times sine of this thing in here. And so previously we looked at factoring out that 1/2. And so that's x minus pi over 3, right? And we have the plus 4 at the end. Okay, so is this thing vertically flipped? No. What's my amplitude? It's 3. Now the period, right? The period is 2 pi divided by b, which is 1/2, right? And so what that's equal to is that's equal to 4 pi. And my horizontal shift is pi over 3 to the right. So this is going to be fun. And my midline is y equals 4. Okay. So let's graph this. And so our midline is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a little line right there so you can see it. My amplitude is 3, so I go down to 1 and up to 7. 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now the fun begins, because we're going to shift pi over 3 to the right. So actually this is pretty similar to the previous calculations, except it's slightly easier because of our period. But anyway, we are going to start at pi over 3 to the right. Okay? And I'm going to add 4 pi to that, but in thirds, right? So 4 pi times 3 over 3, that's 12 pi over 3, right? And I'm adding pi to it, so I'm going to end up at 13 pi over 3. So this is 13 pi over 3. Okay, and now I just need to fill in the blanks here with what's in the middle. Okay, so this is kind of nice because my period is 4 pi, and if I divide by 4, that means that a quarter of a period is pi. Alright, but I need that in thirds, so that's 3 pi over 3. So this actually isn't that bad, because I start with my first quadrantal angle, and that's pi over 3, and to that I add 3 pi over 3, which is a quarter of a period, and that gets me to 4 pi over 3. And so this is 4 pi over 3. And then I take that 4 pi over 3, and to that I add 3 pi over 3. And that gets me to 7 pi over 3. And that's this. Not so bad, right? And then I take my 7 pi over 3, and then to that I add 3 pi over 3, and that's 10 pi over 3. And if I add 3 pi over 3 to 10 pi over 3, I get 13 pi over 3, and that is all that I need. Alright, so now I'm ready to draw my graph. This is what? Sine. So I start in the middle. I go up to the top, back down to the midline, down to the minimum, and back up to the middle. And now I can just connect my dots here. Right? And then I have my 5 key points right here. And so they are pi over 3, comma 4, 4 pi over 3, comma 7, then I have 7 pi over 3, comma 4, and then I have 10 pi over 3, comma 1, and last but not least I have 13 pi over 3, comma 4. And here you see all the information, right? The vertically flipped amplitude period's the same as before, The only thing that's new is our horizontal shift and our midline, right? We started with our horizontal shift, finished, figured out where our period ended, divided it into 4 pieces graphically, right? Then we divided our period into 4 mathematically and added that to each one of our quadrantal angles as we found them. Okay. Now let's work this backwards. Here I'm given a graph, right? And what I want to do is I want to come up with a function in terms of sine shifted to the right. Okay, you can have the sine shifted to the left, you can have it upside down, cosine shifted left, but I'm going to say that we're going to come up with the first sine wave that we can see that is shifted to the right. So we're going to start here. And our period is going to end here. Okay, so we need to figure out where this is, right? And so this is pi over 2, and that's pi. Each one of these markings is pi over 4. Okay, so this is shifted pi over 4 to the right. I'm going to start with that just because we see that first. Okay, is this vertically flipped? No. What's my amplitude? I believe it's 4. What's the period? Well, it doesn't really matter where you start or begin, but what you can see is that my period is 2 pi, right? Because I start at pi over 4 and the cycle ends at pi over 4 more than 2 pi. So our period is 2 pi, and this thing is centered at y equals 0. Okay, so there are a couple of things that need some calculations, like this, right? Because what I need to do is I need to find b, and remember that period is equal to 2 pi over b. And so if our period is 2 pi, and this is equal to 2 pi over b, doesn't that mean that b is just 1? Right? So that's the one that I'm going to put into my equation. Okay? So everything else is the same. This thing is not vertically flipped. This is a sine wave. My amplitude is 4. Sine. Now here's the thing. What I like to do is it's fine to leave your b as 1, and then you have x minus pi over 4. Right, this isn't simplified yet, but that's okay. We can go back and do it later, and then we have plus 0, which we don't need to write. Now, if this number here, our b, was not 1, you could just leave it in this form. Like if it was 5, you could just leave it. But this isn't truly simplified because it's 1. And so our simplified form is y is equal to 4 sine x minus pi over 4. And that's it. That is the equation of our function. Okay, now let's look at the same graph, but this time what we're going to do is we are going to give it a function in terms of cosine shifted to the left. And so that's going to start here at the bottom, and it's going to end here. The period's still the same. The only thing that's different is the horizontal shift. And what you'll notice is that is pi over 4 to the left. Okay, and yes, it is vertically flipped. Okay, everything else is the same. The amplitude is still 4. The period is still 2 pi, which means that our b, I'm going to put in a different color. That means that b is 1, which we found previously. And our midline is y equals 0. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to focus on how this is going to get translated into our graph. And the other thing that's different is the fact that we are vertically flipped. So that means that y is equal to negative 4 cosine. Okay, our b is 1. I still like to write that there, at least to get us started. And then this is x plus pi over 4, right? Because we are shifted pi over 4 to the left. And then our midline is 0, so we don't have to do anything with that. So simplified, we get y is equal to negative 4 cosine of x plus pi over 4. And that's our equation of this function if its cosine shifted to the left. Alright, now it's your turn. This is your video homework number 2, and you're going to graph y equals sine of 3x plus pi over 2 minus 1. And don't forget that you need to factor this part first, right? Which we did previously. And graph that. Okay, so pull out your information, including your horizontal shift, graph it, and then write out your 5 key points. I recommend that you do your 5 key points last.